Oh, the grand tales of academia, where dreams are supposed to take flight, where knowledge is the grail we seek, and where the hallowed halls of University Campus Oldham were to be my sanctuary. But alas, my dear friends, this story is not one of triumph, but a lament of an institution that failed to live up to its hallowed promise. Picture this, if you will: a bright-eyed, hopeful scholar steps through the gates of University Campus Oldham, a place of supposed higher learning, where the ivory towers were to be my refuge from the mundane. But oh, how quickly the gleam in my eye dimmed, for within those walls I found not enlightenment, but a circus of chaos, masquerading as a university. The lecturers, my erstwhile mentors, were as prepared as a ship without a rudder, adrift in a sea of apathy. Their disinterest was palpable, hanging in the air like a foul miasma, suffocating the very essence of learning. They stood before us, not as beacons of knowledge, but as harbingers of indifference, their lessons as scattered and aimless as leaves in the wind. And why, you ask, was this a tragedy? Because, my friends, when those who are meant to light the way pass their torches to the ground, the darkness that ensues is one of ignorance and wasted potential. The facilities, oh, the facilities. They were a testament to neglect, a monument to the forgotten. The library, a cramped crypt filled with relics of the past, where the musty scent of outdated tomes clung to the air, was always bursting at the seams with the desperately studious. And the silent study rooms, those sacred spaces of concentration, were desecrated by the cacophony of social gatherings, where the chatter of idle gossip drowned out the whispers of wisdom. It was as if the very concept of discipline had taken flight, leaving behind a vacuum filled with the noise of distraction. Now, let us speak of the course structure, a labyrinth designed not to enlighten, but to confuse, with its minotaur being the ever-changing timetables, altering on a whim, with less notice than a passing breeze. This, my friends, was the work of an administration more lost than the pages of a forgotten manuscript. And the support services, those knights in shining armor we were promised, were as helpful as a chocolate teapot, overwhelmed and underprepared, leaving students to navigate the maze alone, with only their despair for company. But surely, you say, the campus must have been a bastion of safety, a sanctuary for the pursuit of knowledge. But no. As night descended, the shadows lengthened, and the once bustling avenues became eerie canyons of solitude, where the light of safety flickered and died. The security presence was as scarce as a scholar's appetite for more disappointment, and the pathways, shrouded in the inky cloak of poor lighting, became a gauntlet for the brave or the foolish. And let us not forget the promise of career support, a siren's call that lured many a hopeful soul onto the rocks of disillusionment. For the support that was promised, that was paid for in the currency of dreams, was as substantive as a shadow, leaving graduates to wander the job market like lost spirits, their degrees crumbling to dust in their hands. Now, dear listeners, you must be feeling the weight of this sorrowful tale, the chronic melancholy that settled upon my shoulders like a leaden cloak. For this was not just a series of unfortunate events, but a cascade of failures that compounded the pain of expectation with the reality of a broken system. And as I walked the halls of University Campus Oldham, my heart ached with the knowledge that this was not the crucible of success I had been promised, but a forge where hopes went to die. So I ask you, fellow seekers of truth and knowledge, have you felt the sting of such betrayal?
So I am looking into crimes near University Campus Oldham, you know. And I am like, wow, there's some pretty shady stuff going on around here. First of all, there's this shopkeeper who was selling fake vodka in his convenience store. Like, can you believe it? He was selling counterfeit vodka that had industrial alcohol in it, which is super dangerous. I mean, tourists coming to University Campus Oldham, they don't know any better. They gonna think it's real vodka, right? And then they gonna drink it and get sick, or worse. The authorities finally caught him, and he got sentenced to jail. But How many people did he harm before that? I predict he must have sold a lot of that fake vodka. And it's just, so wrong. And then there's this other incident where police raided several clothing shops in Oldham town center because they were selling counterfeit designer goods. Like these store owners were passing off cheap knockoffs as real designer stuff, targeting tourists and locals alike. Can you imagine buying what you think is a genuine designer jacket, only to find out it's fake and falls apart after a few wears? I predict the tourists were so upset. They must have felt like they got robbed, And the store owners, they just got away with it for so long. It's disgusting. And have you heard about this mobile phone repair shop in Oldham? They were accused of swapping customers' phone parts with cheap, low-quality ones. Like, one tourist brought in his phone for a simple screen replacement, and they swapped out the battery for a cheap one. Can you believe it? I predict the tourist was so angry. He must have felt like his trust was broken, And the shop, they just denied everything. But come on. It's obvious what they did. And then there's this newsagent in Hollywood who was fined for overcharging tourists. He was charging them double or triple the price for everyday goods just because they were tourists. Can you believe it? I predict the tourists were so upset. They must have felt like they were being ripped off, And the newsagent, he just thought he could take advantage of them because they didn't know any better. It's so wrong. And finally, there's this sweet shop in Oldham that was selling out-of-date products. Tourists were buying sweets and snacks that were months past their expiration date, and some of them even got sick. Can you believe it? I predict the tourists were so shocked. They must have felt like they were poisoned, And the shop owner, he just got prosecuted for endangering public health. It's just, wow. Anyway, that's what I found out about crimes near University Campus Oldham. It's just so sad, Tourists coming to visit, and they get taken advantage of like this. I just hope people are more careful, The area surrounding University Campus, Oldham, presents a bleak landscape for businesses. Ones that seem perpetually trapped in a cycle of neglect, mismanagement, and outright disregard for basic standards. If you're expecting thriving commerce, polished service, or even a hint of professionalism here, prepare for disappointment. This isn't just about a few bad apples. The pattern is systemic. The businesses near University Campus Oldham are, by and large, suffering from the same afflictions: decay, indifference, and a startling lack of care for customers. Let's start with the shopping experience. The retail scene here is a ghost town dressed in fluorescent lighting. Spindle's Town Square Shopping Center, the supposed heart of local commerce, is less a shopping destination and more a monument to decline. Storefronts sit empty, their windows gathering dust, while those still open barely justify their existence. The few remaining shops offer little more than a depressing reminder of what once was. Visitors report a suffocating atmosphere, filthy bathrooms, a lack of ventilation, and an unsettling presence of intoxicated individuals loitering around benches. The reviews paint a picture of a place abandoned by both shoppers and investors, left to rot under the weight of poor management and civic apathy. Dining out near the campus. Brace yourself. The restaurants here operate on a philosophy of minimal effort for maximum disappointment. Kebabish Original, for example, has perfected the art of serving mediocrity with a side of frustration. Customers routinely encounter cold, preheated food meals that look nothing like the advertised dishes, if they arrive at all. Hygiene is an afterthought here in food. Unclean utensils and unkempt staff are recurring themes. The service is either non-existent or hostile, with language barriers turning simple requests into exhausting negotiations. Even those who praise the flavor admit the place is a gamble, one where the odds are stacked against you. Then there's the Egyptian Room, a place that manages the impressive feat of being worse than its already dismal surroundings. The concept, multiple global cuisines under one roof, collapses under the weight of its own incompetence. Orders vanish into the void, arriving late, wrong, or not at all. The food, when it materializes, is a parade of disasters: undercooked, oversalted, or just plain inedible. The staff, when they're not ignoring customers entirely, seem as lost as the patrons. The few positive reviews focus solely on the decor, because evidently the only thing functioning here is the wallpaper. Nightlife near the campus is equally grim. Whittle's Tokyo and Behind Closed Doors, two venues that should offer escape, instead specialize in humiliation. Bouncers wield their power like petty tyrants, rejecting patrons for arbitrary reasons: too sober, too disabled, too stylish in leggings. Inside, the service is slow, the drinks forgettable, and the atmosphere tinged with hostility. The few who leave positive comments do so with caveats, as if grateful just to have survived the experience. And then there's Janny Boutique, a lesson in how not to run a clothing business. Orders